Good morning, everyone. Thank you for coming. So many of you, we don't even have room for it. It's crazy to see. But thank you for coming here this beautiful morning. If it's your first time, then welcome to 1508. My name is Mathias. I work as a transition designer here at 1508. I'm joined by Nina.
Hi, I'm Nina. I work as a marketing manager here at 1508.
For those who don't know, 1508 is a digital design agency. We have existed since the 15th of August, year 2000, and we have for now almost 26 years done digital experiences and digital design, which has been many things throughout the time. So what we see and say that we do is we create responsible digital experiences. That is the latest and greatest version of what we are doing here with what we see is necessary to do and be a part of the world with. So we can kind of break that into two different things. First and foremost, there's the responsible part. What does it mean to do responsible design? The way we see it is there's three primary things that we look for when we talk about responsible design. We talk about sustainability. So how can we have the least impact on planet with the digital solutions we create? We talk about inclusivity. So how can we have the highest impact for people that we design with and for? And in the end, accessibility. So how can we make sure that the things that we create is accessible for everybody who needs to use it? The other part of this equation is digital. And what is digital? In the year 2000, when we started, there was something. In the year 2026, which we're in now, is something completely different. And from where we used to talk about websites and apps and digital brands and communications, so we can see that there is another player on the digital atmosphere that has come in and kind of taken over. We can see now that 50% of consumers use AI-powered search today. This is a report from McKinsey from last year. Lord knows what the number is this year. But we can see that the way we interact with digital products, digital services is changing drastically. This number is just gonna go up expectedly. So what does this mean for the way that we design services, products, websites, all these different things? A whole lot is what I'm suggesting at least. Come on, clicker. That was it. So what does this mean from a digital perspective? We can see now that there's beginning to come APIs and applications that is coming into the Agentic experience directly. So you can shop through the agents now. You don't even have to go into a website. We can also see here that they kind of can do orders for you, and you just met with the final pay now thing. And here we have an agent as well looking for job candidates. Because you want to hire somebody, it can actually find you the three most suited candidates. So there's a lot of things that it can go in now, and it can now take in data and process it and give you the correct information that you need to use. So what does that mean for the website, which is where you used to go in and get all of your information, and you had to sit with it yourself and figure out what do I need to know and how can I put this together myself? What we see or imagine is that we're going to have two versions of websites. We're going to have one which is built for the machine, which is the agentic experience, which is structure and data and clarity. So all the things that you want the agent that it could go in and drag out over to its own thing, where you can then read through the summary of all these different things. What does that then leave for the website or for your digital experience that you have control of yourself? Well, this is here where we then want to see if we can create an elevated experience. We want to create something that is meaningful, something that feels human, that tells stories, that is beautiful. It's gonna be the super branded experience where your brand really can stand out from the rest of the herd, because everything is now super automated and easy over in the agentic experience. So what is it then your website needs to be? Well, it needs to be your business card of how do you perceive yourself, how do you want to be perceived, and how do you want to have your look and feel. It also means there's a loss of control of how you are portrayed, which is scary sometimes maybe. This is if you go into ChatGPT and write what is transition design, which is one of our solutions or core value propositions here. And you can see that we are quoted 3 times, but we're also put together with 2 models, which is from Carnegie Mellon, which is not our model. So it's up to the user to decipher what is what, who owns what part. So it's just to say we no longer have control over how we are portrayed in a context of a lot of different things compared to how we portray ourselves in this more playful, branded experience. So it's just to say, what do you then need to have if you have these 2 alternatives? What do you want to look like in the agent, where it's just like you want to give in the best information for it to have an authentic, truthful representation of you? And what do you then want to look like if you can just be the most true to yourself and your brand? So it kind of also proposes these 2 different ways of looking at the user journey. We have the highway, which is the super fast agentic experience where I go in and I write what is a design agency in Copenhagen that does human-centered design. You get this answer. Or there's the Scenic route, which is our own website where we can tell our stories, show our cases, and all these different things. So what do they then do, and how can you approach these 2 different ones? We often use this analogy, this is a haystack if nobody have seen one before. And this is how most digital platform up until the year 2025 has existed or functioned. This is how it is to go into borger.dk and order a new passport or something. You are just exposed for everything at once, and then you have to figure out where the hell am I going now. And what we can see with the agentic experience or AI, we can actually just give you the needle instead, because we know you, we know who you are and all these different things, instead of you having to navigate through all these different user journeys. And normally when, as UXers, we try to design something, we try to funnel something where we can then, in the end, give you exactly the information you want to. But here, what we can kind of see is that you can just get it straight ahead, because it can remove all of the clutter for you. So what does that then leave for the Scenic route? Well, can go through you or what?
I will move.
Oh yeah. This is it again. Oh, there we are. Okay. So to toot our own horn, this is some work we have done for Stray, which is a venture capital fund in New York, which exists in the finance industry, and we all know what finance institutions look like from a branding perspective. Maybe a bit conservative, maybe a bit boring, you could say. And what Stray have then decided to be is quite the opposite, and be much more playful and use this whole digital experience and digital presence as a business card of showing their value. They want to build responsible futures and have like meaningful investments. So what we have created with them is a brand that is super playful, super like showing what their values are. And what we see or hope maybe is that a lot of brands are gonna lean even more into stuff like this, where they are daring to be super playful or super strong in their brands, because all of the boring stuff you can kind of do with the agentic experience, and you can have all of those information quickly through there. So what is it then we need to do from your perspective is we want to really show some personality and make you stick out from the rest. When we talk about this, brands and user experiences in general, we here at 1508 are talking a lot about the peak end rule. It is regarding all experiences, both if you're going to the hospital or you're going in to order a new passport on borger.dk. There is 2 things in the human psychology we are mostly commonly remember, which is when the experience peaked, that is both in terms of peak down or peak up. So it's also a super horrible experience, but also super good experience, and how things end. So what we always try to really use our energy on is these two different things. So where can we see where is the biggest user problem or biggest hurdle, and how can we elevate that specific point the most, or where is the biggest opportunity for creating something super immersive and branded. And in the same end, how does the user experience end? What is the final thing? How are they going to remember getting out of our experience? And this still holds even though there's an agentic protocol that can do all of these different things. We still try to figure out, okay, so in the user experience where they maybe get some information therefrom, what is it then that we have as the peak end? How do we have this branded communication as well? So, responsible and digital. We do responsible digital design. Can they coexist? I feel like we're so many people in here this morning. I just want to have a little hand in the air. Are you concerned about AI? Okay, not so shabby. Because, of course, when we talk about responsible and digital, there's a lot of things that goes on with AI which can scare you a bit and at least be something you need to consider. So if we talk about sustainability, of course, there is the massive energy consumption that all of these data centers is gonna require. We can see in Australia that they are lacking water supply because all of these data centers, they just, oh no, talking about water, they just suck all of this water out of what the people need to have. So sustainability-wise, not so great. Inclusivity, we can still see that AI targets specific ethnic groups in facial recognition things and all these different things. So in terms of inclusivity, there's still a lot of issues with AI and it actually being, what's to say, like equal to all people in all races and global south and all these different things. And accessibility, there is a generation right now who is maybe already challenged by the digital space. It's a hot topic in Denmark these weeks about rejsekortet. I don't know if you know it, going fully digital, and the elderly are scared because how are they gonna go around anymore? There's gonna be a physical card, don't worry. But it's just to say, like, when we go more digital, and now we go even hyper digital with AI, what is that gonna do for our elderly? What is gonna do for our people who are not so technically advanced? So are we actually gonna be more accessible with AI? I know, of course, this is also gonna be an engine into conversational UI and all these different things. So it's gonna be much easier to have a conversation and therefore maybe easier for the elderly. But it's at least a concern to have about, is it actually making it easier for some groups to engage with your services? Yes, and in terms of using AI to make a service quicker and better and make enhancing its value, we can see Duolingo, which I imagine a lot of people know, has now replaced a lot of its workers with AI because it can go in and it can automate the things and it can save up a lot of time and energy used by people and save a lot of money and have a higher profit and all these great things, which we love to see. What we then see here from this Reddit user is, I've noticed the increase of AI because, surprise, a lot of translation stories are not helpful. There's obviously less humanity involved. It's disheartening. So by actually trying to optimize their experience with AI, they've actually lessened the value of their product and therefore lessened the cost and the value of their brand. Just to say, make sure that you don't remove all people because 70% decrease in stock is at least some. So besides doing all of your stupid mails and doing Excel sheets and all the things you don't want to do anymore, it seems like the thing that AI is really good at is amplifying the existing patterns we have in the world, is amplifying our inequality, is amplifying our energy consumption, is amplifying all of these different things, which is making us stuck in a world where there's a lot of things going on which we need to address quickly. And it also makes us stuck in this This is the scale of growth since the 60s, and we can see we have doubled our economy every 24 years, which is super nice, and that's what we always talk about. We need to go bigger and bigger and sell more, and AI can make us even more growth and important and sell more stuff. What does that actually mean? On the other hand, it means that our energy consumption has gone drastically up throughout those same years, and we can see our material extraction is also going up. So there is a correlation between the amount of money we use and the amount of energy consumption and material and all these different things we use. So if we can optimize everything with AI and we can sell even more and we can become richer, we are also messing up the planet even more. And how is it going with that old planet of ours? Back in 2009, it was a great time. I just finished primary school, and we only had 3 borders crossed of the planetary boundaries. And here in last year, we crossed the 7th. Yay! And we're going towards the 9th. So it's just to say there is a lot of things going on in the world and a lot of things we need to address and we need to make sure that we do. And I'm not quite certain that AI is the catalyst for this change that needs to happen. Sorry, I didn't mean to be so negative. It just kind of happened. It's just to say there is a lot of considerations to have when you talk about these topics. And there are a lot of things that we kind of forget when we just type in, can you make me a cool food plane or something like this. Look how happy he is. Because to me at least, and this is maybe also just a designer praising designers, but for me it matters even more than ever that we are designing with intention, we are designing with authenticity, we're designing with humans, we're actually creating something that has meaning, that has value, that is trying to address all of these wicked problems we have and all of these things we want to achieve. I think there's a lot of people in here who come from organizations who have big vision strategy things where they says they want to create meaningful change and sustainable societies and all these different things. So it's just making sure that are we actually living up to all of those purposes that we are saying that we do. Let's hope. So what can we use AI for? Like I said, reduce complexity for users. So this motorway, highway, needle in the haystack thing, we can give you exactly what you need in the instance, and we can actually then maybe reduce the time you spend going on board at decode, and therefore also the time you spend doing useless stuff. We can have generative user journeys, which is super cool, because if I am a person suffering from dyslexia or ADHD or whatever it is, I can go in and I can have a very specific user journey that is generated to me and my constraints or whatever you should say, instead of I see the same as everybody else. So this thing of actually having the possibility of generating things based on a context is important in terms of accessibility as well. Hopefully all of this automation and I don't have to do all of my transcriptions from my user interviews means I can free time up to stay with the problem and come up with creative solutions, because I hope that it doesn't mean that we have more time to create more solutions or more AI slop and all these different things people talk about, but actually saying, okay, can we spend even more time on looking at the problem, understanding what we want to do and create, and be in that space for longer? And also kind of ties up with the last one, which is with vibe coding and all these different things, means that from back in the day where it spent months on building something that was functional, now we can do it in days. And instead of testing with flat thickness, we can actually test with real solutions that we can give to people, meaning that I can test for actual behavior and not you being like, yeah, I think I could use that in my everyday life. So this thing of actually testing with real human behavior is going to be super important and super power in terms of doing UX and user-centered design. But all of this is well, but if you cannot get into the chat, does it even matter? So how do you get into the chat, Nina?
Yeah, how do you do that? I'll try to answer that for you. So we are seeing a new reality, and that comes with new challenges. And as Mathias stated, half of the consumers already use AI-powered search tools. We also see that the majority of the Google searches today end in 0 clicks. That means when a user is asking something on Google, in 60% of the incidents, they won't even click on to the website. And that's even though Google came out just recently and stated that they've seen a 17% increase in Google searches last year. So we're searching more, but we don't click as much. We've also seen on a general basis almost a third drop in CTR. And we've experienced this too last year in May when the Google AI overview came out. We saw a 34.5% drop in CTR to our website. So we are facing a new challenge, and this challenge to resolve that requires some new demands and new techniques. And these new techniques has a lot of different names already. The way we can see it's new, it has all of these names. And to make it even worse, all these abbreviations as well. But most people call this new discipline GEO, Generative Engine Optimization, so we will do that too, to make it easy. So the difference between the SEO, as we know as before, and GEO is that in SEO, yes, it was about being found on the search engines like Google and Bing, if anybody was ever using Bing. And in GEO, it's being synthesized by the LLMs, like being mentioned, being sourced, ChatGPT, in Gemini, Perplexity, wherever the users are using LLMs to find answers. So to understand how to be found on these LLMs, we need to understand how the AI is retrieving answers for the users. Because as Mathias stated, there can be a gap in how you want to portray yourself and how the LLM is portraying you. So to understand this and to understand how to be found, we need to understand the process. So when a user is asking a question, the LLM starts by scraping the content, articles, social media, everywhere your brand is present. Then it goes through this semantic parsing, asking what is this really about, trying to decipher the user's input and like making it into something machine language that it can actually understand. From there, it's trying to understand the meaning, the context, the relationship between the user's input and what it can actually find on the internet. From there, it's doing this entity extraction. It's looking at who, what, when, where, what is this about, trying to identify organizations and people, and trying to find out how all these data points actually correlate to each other. So if your product data or service data or your PR narrative and the content on your website, if they don't align and they don't correlate, you might be misinterpreted by the LLM and you won't move on to the next step, which is the credibility evaluation. Because here it's looking at, is this source credible? Is this source credible enough for me to use the information to put out to the user? It's looking at the experience of your content, the expertise, the authority, and the trust. So if you pass this evaluation, then you can move on to the next step, which is being sourced as the winner or winners, one of the winners, because it's not only one source that is moving on to becoming the final answer to the user. Often the LLM is taking multiple sources in, as we saw also in Mathias's example before with the transition design prompt, where we were mentioned with Carnegie Mellon images. So from here, you will be synthesized into one single answer to the user. So this is the 7-stage process that we go through when we are asking a question to the user. So how to optimize for this and move on? The answer is here in step number 4, the credibility evaluation. So, as I said, we're looking at 4 signals. It's called EAT, and it stands for experience, expertise, authority, and trust. And this is not a new concept. We know this from SEO, so it's not new. But in SEO, we were using it to rank on, for example, Google. But in GEO, we're using it to be evaluated as credible. So if you want to implement this on your website or your content in general, you can, for example, use case studies and examples, day in the life of, behind the scenes content, detailed product or experience reviews for experience content. For the expertise, detailed author bios, who is actually writing this piece of content, and about us pages that are really detailed with everything you can imagine to tell the LLM about your company, as well as content by industry expert or professionals. So if you have some professionals in your industry, have them make an interview with you or have them make a guest blog post. This is something that really can boost your expertise. Of course, how-to guides, how are we using you as a brand or your product or your services. For the authority, external mention and validation. This is also something that we know from SEO with link building and backlinks, but here it's just, it can be that, but it can also just be mentions of your brand through different platforms where you're present with your name, so to say. Also, deep topical clusters. If you can really deep dive into like the area that you are working within and have like deep topical clusters on your website or wherever you are present, this is also something that establishes the authoritativeness. And of course, trust, transparent policies. I don't think I need to mention why that is important. Up-to-date content, make sure that your dates are visible on your blog posts or your publications. And of course, reviews. This is social proof, something that the user is using, but also the LLM is using. So if you lack these signals in your content, not just on your website, but wherever you're present, you might not move on from the credibility evaluation, and you might not be synthesized in the answer. So this here is important, really important. So the reality is this. As I said, a strong SEO foundation supports LLM optimization, but new tactics is needed to ensure visibility in AI-generated responses. Because these are not new tactics. It's not like a whole new thing, GEO. It's on top of SEO. And this is important to remember. So we have created a framework to work with both the old SEO tactics and the new GEO tactics. The framework is called CLEAR, and it stands for context, layout, expertise, attribution, and reach. So let's have a look at this CLEAR framework. For the SEO tactics, these are still super important, highly relevant, and this is the foundation for your GEO work. Really, really important. In SEO, we're looking at focusing on keywords, individual page level optimization. We're looking at backlinks, domain authority, link building, and optimizing for siloed channels, where we're looking at how to optimize for Google, for YouTube, for LinkedIn. And of course, we're looking at rankings, clicks, scroll depth, and so on. Some people call this vanity metrics, but they are still relevant, of course, because Google is still one of the main players in regarding search. So in SEO, you could be link number 5 on the search result page and still have a fairly good chance of being clicked based on your name or your meta title or meta description. And that's fine if that's what you want to do. But as I said, new tactics is required to be visible in half of the incidents where the users are searching. So there we go. The GEO tactics is needed. And here we are focusing on the context, the user intent, the semantic clarity, and we focus on entity relationships, and of course, EAT as a really big player here. And we're also focusing on a cross-platform presence, meaning we're not optimizing for siloed channels, but we're optimizing for the whole, for all platforms where we are present, both earned and owned media. And you need to tell the same story. That's what I said before with the PR narrative and the data points. They need to correlate and align. And then we're looking at sourced links, mentions, of course, in the LLM platforms. So, yes. So if we are looking at the clear framework, then we are optimizing for the context with these two tabs, the layout for page level, semantic clarity, expertise for backlinks and sourced attribution, and the attribution here for rankings and traffic and citation attribution, and reached for silo channels and cross-platform channels. So you need to optimize for both. And as I said before, I want to state it again, this is not an either or, it's both. So if you already have your SEO in place, then you are a long step up the way. Congratulations. So let's have an example, because I mentioned this entities a couple of times. So The Little Mermaid is a good example of something that the AI actually sees as a complex web of facts. The Little Mermaid, she is an entity. She is a node of meaning. And this is also step number 3 in the AI-generated answer we saw before, the entity extraction. So The Little Mermaid, she is a literary origin, a Danish landmark. She's been exposed for vandalism. She's a pop culture icon. She's a Disney movie. And she's a cultural diplomacy. So this is a concept that the AI can reason about. And in the SEO world, she was just a keyword. But in the GEO world, she's an entity and like a cluster of facts within each node. Yeah? So when following the clear framework, where are we? Yeah, we don't want to try to own all of the clusters, the whole cluster. We don't want to do that. But we optimize to the context that matches our user's intent. So let's say we are a travel agency or tourist company. Then we want to optimize, for example, for a Danish landmark, this node within this entity. So then we have to make sure that we are optimizing, this is our context, and then we have to optimize for the layout and the expertise and the attribution and the reach as well. Okay? So by using the clear framework, we're optimizing both SEO and GEO to become the single source of truth for this node within this entity. Yeah? Okay. I hope you're with me. So, does this even work, Nina? And I'm super glad you asked. Let's have a look. Because if we take an example of our Morgenbooster, the one you're at now, if you're in doubt, this could be considered our entity. And each topic of our entity Morgenbooster is one of the nodes. Yeah? So before we were looking at Morgenbooster as an event with a landing page and a video, Vimeo video actually. But now we're looking at it as a content engine, where we are doing a transcript on a landing page, a LinkedIn article, a blog post, a SoMe post, slideshare presentation, Vimeo video, and a YouTube video. And one entity is becoming 7 assets, 7 content assets. So it's about being present where your users are, but also where the LLMs are searching or like crawling. And I know, for example, that YouTube is one of the main channels that are used in the LLMs. That's why we are, of course, on YouTube, where we have optimized our videos with chapters and descriptions and so on. So we're telling the LLM all of these places about our entity and about our node, for example, today, which is GEO or website in an AI world. Yeah? But we have also optimized our website. There we go, on page, where we have created topical subpages with links and TLDRs for each of our, what we say, service points, like transition design or no-code, low-code, vibe coding, system thinking, and so on. So we have created these deep topical pages. Then we have created citable text passages, these small answer nuggets within each page that are easy retrievable text passages that the AI can just pull out and serve to the user. We have also created headings that are similar to the Google AI overview. So if you have tried to search in the Google AI overview, you've probably seen that it comes forward with like key principles or key facts. So we have created the same headings to just tell the LLM, this is just a key principle you can pull out to the user, easy. Of course, glossaries and FAQ models also implemented on the site, because this is structured and clear facts that is just easy retrievable information for the LLM to use to the user. On the technical side of things, we have updated our schema types on all of pages, all of modules with FAQs, events, organization, about us schemas, because this is a language that is easy for the LLMs to understand. This is the language they read. So of course we have optimized for that. Then we have also optimized our robots text with an LLMS text file, because this is just like kind of a file telling the LLM how to crawl a site. So I promised you I would say if this was working, and it is. We've seen a 50% increase in traffic from ChatGPT after we have implemented these techniques. And we have also seen, we saw this from Mathias, a lot of mentions and sourced links in all of the platforms, Gemini, Perplexity, ChatGPT as well. And all of these results we actually started to see in just 14 days after we made the implementation. So it's going a lot faster than with SEO. So this is a really good news. So where does that leave the website and the role of the website? Wrapping up what Mathias said and what you have just been told by me, your website is going to be the single source of truth for your entity within the nodes that you are working in. It's going to be your content epicenter, from where your content originates from, where it springs out to all other platforms. It's also going to be the updated knowledge hub, where both users can go in and validate the information that they are getting from the LLM, but also where the LLM can go in and look at new information, relevant information to retrieve to the user. Of course, it's a place where you can establish a connection and a relationship with the user by creating branded experiences. You must not forget about the users. And of course, it needs to be optimized for this dual layer SEO and GEO. So the role of the website has not disappeared, but the job description has changed a little. Yeah? So before we move on to the questions, I just want to make a quick shout out for our course, Class and Network, where we are going to look at how to design for complex challenges. We start on March 3rd. So we're going to tap into your organization's complex challenges, and if you want to work with them through business design, future thinking, prototyping, you can in this course. Of course, if you feel inspired today and you want to share this with your organization or your team, we can come out and do a little quick inspirational session with you guys. It could be about the topic of today, but also like accessibility, branding, and greenwashing, or whatever is currently on our minds. And of course, if you want to get a GEO audit, we can also find that out. So you can book an audit of your AI visibility on your website. So if you're interested in any of this, you can just get a hold of Mathias or me. Yes. Thank you. Any questions? No.
Yes, over here.
It's maybe a very loaded question, but so you're basically saying AI is destroying the planet, it's amplifying inequality, and then in return we get like slightly better prototypes and more time to create things.
Yes.
I mean, I think if I ask you like, do you think that's a good return on investment? You probably I know the answer. But what do you think? What is the counter? What do we do about it?
That's a good question. I think what we can see from how far it has gotten with the 50% search through AI just last year is that it is an unstoppable force right now, and then it's figuring out how we best exist within that. I don't have the answers necessarily, but it is of course a super big complex situation of that it is coming, and like now when you Google, you cannot deselect the AI option, is just going to be there. So we also see, I don't know if any of you have seen, there's this called Danmark Skifter, which is this new campaign which is about people trying to get out of American technology and technology in general and all these different things. So maybe that's something that's a response to all of these considerations, is can we actually go out of Meta and LinkedIn and also ChatGPT and all these different things? Is it actually possible to go out and have a techless life? Maybe we're gonna see more of that, but there's at least there's always a reaction to when something like becomes large. There's also people pulling in the other direction. So right now we don't know what's gonna happen, and it happens so fast, as Nina says. So I don't know where we are in 6 months, but at least for now we can see that it's just powering through with a lot of people maybe not considering a lot of these things because they are super hyped about all of the possibilities. And I see a lot of people doing a lot of cool stuff with lovable and what's it called, like vibe coding and all these things and the optimizing thing. I just don't necessarily see yet with creating a super good impact for planet or people yet, besides just optimizing your daily tasks. And if there's somebody who does something that actually switches that around, and where you can talk about AI for good because the impact of AI is less than the good output it gives to somebody, then we'll see. But for now, I don't see it. Yep.
Yes?
The AI have been quite, what can we say, spared when it comes to ads in commercial until now, also because it's quite new technology. But every day you read that somebody is selling out, and when it comes to Google's and all the AI behind there, it's quite clean from somebody's paying money to come into the consideration about Google's AI machine. How do you see the whole ad monsters coming in the future to affect all of this? Because you can be very good at build structure and hit the right words, but suddenly somebody come put a layer on top of that that's called pay me some money. Have you considered that, and what do you see in the crystal ball?
Yeah, so they are already starting to implement ads. We've seen it in ChatGPT, where they started to roll it out in America, where the ads are placed by the user's intent. So if you search something about Mexico, you will get an ad for salsa, for example. But it is based right now on impressions, which is really clever by ChatGPT because they need money right now, and the more impressions they can get, the more money they will get. So it's not based on clicks, but it is definitely something that is like really being started to roll out, and it will also take over. I'm sure about that because we've seen it with Google. So of course this will happen as well. Yeah.
Why not make your own generated UI version of your website rather than relying on optimizing for ChatGPT? Because it's not impossible, but you're right. Like ChatGPT is the new Facebook, more or less, for everything. So where are we in terms of how easy it is to kind of just make your website into basically a chat version?
I think it depends on the industry, because like I don't think you can just like, it's not a one size fits all solution with this ChatGPT. I'm sure that websites for like e-commerce, if you have a shoe store, for example, online, the website will probably be oblivious in the future. You won't have a need of it because you just go in to your agent and you shop the latest pair of shoes that you had like half a year ago, and it probably goes by automation.
Will be an API.
Exactly, yeah.
It already is, isn't it? It already is.
Yes,
Yeah.
it is. But if you have like a brand, as we saw with the Stray case, it's really important that you can like make this branded experience for the user. So I think it's depending on the industry.
Yeah.
If you can just put a layer that is just agentic instead of the website.
But there's also a thing of being where the users are. So if people are using Claude or ChatGPT or whatever, then you need to be accessible there instead of just creating your own and hope for people to download that, I guess.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you for your presentations. Can you share, or do you know of any maybe classic pitfalls that the rest of us can avoid when we will, not if we will, try to take shortcuts in creating GEO or whatever? Like you also have the content as the epicenter. I mean, we are prone to making shortcuts, right? So have you seen anything so far that's like, don't do that?
Yeah, so a lot of people like lack the basic foundation of SEO, and that just needs to be in place before you start doing the SEO work. GEO work. Yeah, because that is the foundation, and a lot of the techniques from SEO is also like the same techniques used to be AI visible. So you need to have that in place first, and then you can start like doing the GEO tactics. Yeah, and it's not that much on top actually. It's but you need to have the SEO basis. Yeah. So that would be probably a large pitfall. Yeah. Yeah.
When you implemented the strategy for the geo changes, did you compare different models, different services, not only ChatGPT and?
Yeah. So we have actually vibe coded a tool ourselves to like try to see how our presence is on the different LLMs. And of course, it's hard right now, and a lot of tools is showing up around the landscape in regards to like measuring and tracking your presence. We have not like made a what can you say, like a full report on this, but it's clear that we are showing up a lot more than we did before in the different LLMs. So yeah, and we saw that with the examples as well, and we've seen like this 50% increase in traffic from ChatGPT. So I think that's a high number, and that is like super relevant traffic because it's stated that when people actually click, when they're not among the 60% that don't click, but when they click, they are about 4.4% more likely, times more likely to convert. So that's a higher number. So it's really important to get this traffic from the LLMs as well. Yeah. Yes?
We've all been hearing about omnichannel presence for about 10 years, way before AI even. But we've also been hearing about the website as an epicenter, as the content hub. What I've experienced is that in these 10 years, all the resources have been drawn from the website creators and now to the other channels, right? So do you still believe that the website needs to be a content hub? Because that's not what I'm experiencing.
Yeah, I'm thinking the website as the validation content hub. So this has to be the place where you can actually validate the information that are being placed all around, like all other platforms.
But when a governmental institution is posting something on social media platforms, it has the same authority as on the website, even though it's not real estate.
Yeah.
So how is the website more important? How do you think that all content should be born on the website for distribution?
Yeah.
Why not just distribute omnichannel?
Yeah, because we're seeing so much AI slop right now and AI generated content. So the user has to be able to go somewhere to check that information. And one place could be the website as a main authority for the brand. And you have to like be able to trust that what you see on the website is actually the truth. So that would be the place to validate the content that you see. Yeah.
So the LLM is validating the website higher than validating the Facebook page?
Not necessarily, but this is both for user and LLM. Yeah. So it has to be a content epicenter and an updated knowledge hub for both the user and the LLM. Yeah. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
I come from an organization that has a lot of factual PDF reports available. speak on how PDFs are accessible to developers?
Yeah. So PDFs is downloadable content, and the LLMs can read that as well. Of course, it will be a little harder for them because they have to click the button, download it. So if you can have the content live digitally, it will be way easier to pass the credibility evaluation.
What do you mean by living digitally? We have issue links.
Yeah, so if you could have it live on your website as not as a PDF but as written text, yeah, then it will be much easier to pass the evaluation. Yeah. Yes.
I'll take a chance and complicate the role of the website a little bit more.
Yes, please do.
I know we need to design both the old robots and the new and the users, but I think be a little bit provocative, you're forgetting one very, very important role. That is definitely a pitfall. The conversion. Like the website, especially for B2B or SaaS companies, has to get people through the door. So I would say that's, how do you make room for that in your framework so you then end up creating something that looks great, like a brand expression? Robots can interpret it, but nobody walks through the door. Nobody converts. Like there's still a lot of craft in the copy, the call to actions, the hierarchy, all these different things. Is that embedded in some of the other things you have, or where does that fit?
Yeah, definitely. It's important that you don't lose the UX and UI elements. And of course, as you say, copy is still super, super relevant. And this is also important, and you need to implement that as well. These tools, as we saw in the GEO framework, CLEAR framework, is for being AI visible. So when we actually get the click in the 40% of the incidents, you will have to implement UX, you will have to do the great copy, all of the things you did before still to make the conversions. At least that is how it is for now. And then I think it's about the industry. So if you have an e-commerce business and a Shopify business, then probably the website won't be relevant anymore. So you need to figure out how to be present on other platforms to actually drive the interest. And then when you have the interest of the buyer, making sure that you are visible in the LLM to get the purchases. Yeah.
But I think, as you said, there's a lot of, if you're a membership organization like a pension fund or a union, you still need to have people go through a self-service flow and all these different things. So there's a lot of functionality we just can't remove or put into the AI because there's, of course, GDPR and personal information and all those different things. But there is the thing of if I can get aware of all of my rights if I'm applying for a job and I'm kind of confused about all these rules, I can search for that. So what is then the experience I want to have at my union when I have to go and register? I applied for jobs. If I don't want to get flooded with rules and all these boring things because I've had that in the other thing and I know what to do, what is then the super branded, super human experience? I think we can still talk about that, even though we of course need to live up to our standard of having a functional user experience, but we can play a bit around with how human we can be when we have all of the boring stuff hidden in another digital platform.
Yeah.
Yes, I think we are out of time, but
yes.
Thank you so much for coming and have a nice day.